shit's in the safe. Got me a spot out the way. Nigga just tryna be safe.
Let's get to sports talk.
Yesterday, as you are well aware, was the NBA trade deadline, and the Pistons traded Andre Drummond to the Cavaliers. Drummond played his whole 8-year career to this point in Detroit, and he took to Twitter after news of the trade broke. And this struck a chord with a lot of the former players in our room this morning. He tweeted, "If there's one thing I learned about the NBA, there's no friends or loyalty. I've given my heart and soul to the Pistons, and to have this happen with no heads up makes me realize even more that this is just a business. I love you, Detroit." And then he went on to say a few other things in there, but that's the part of this that really stuck with us, is the idea of loyalty. And Acho, you were the one who brought this up in our meeting this morning, so I wanted to give you the floor first. When you read that tweet, because I know that really struck you, what did it make you think?
Two things. I feel for him and I feel him. Meaning, I feel for him in the sense of, dude has been playing in NBA purgatory for the last 7 years, since he got into the league. Detroit, the best they finished in his tenure is 8th in the East. That's the best. So he's been out there slaving. He gives you 18 and 16 this year, leads the league in rebounds, doing the dirty work. And then you're going to trade the man who clearly isn't the problem without a heads up. To me, it's not just a basketball thing, Greeny. I remember Jamal Adams with the Jets coming out earlier in the season and saying, wait a second, y'all going to trade me? And the GM and coach are like, everybody's on the trade block. So I get his frustration, I get his pain, and I get just his pure, he was pissed.
Of course he gonna be mad. Because when you get your all to an organization, even though you came out earlier this season and said, I might test free agency, but I most likely want to return. Like he thought he wasn't gonna be on the train block. He probably didn't even notice they was looking to ship him out. Ain't nobody in that team probably know they was trying to trade Andre Drummond. Like, he gave it their all. Like, the best they finished on in the AC twice in his 8-year tenure. Like, and he out there giving his all to a team that barely even surround him to help Detroit be successful. Yeah, the best they gave him was Reggie Jackson and Griffin. And they trade him, and he's not even a problem. It ain't like he's not out there dominating. He out there 18. I think they said 16. Like, he having a good year. It ain't like he having an off year. You trade somebody that's the problem.
Off, and I get it. I get it.
I've been on the other side of those conversations, guys, and it's hard. You know, those positions, you're not in the people-pleasing business. You have a responsibility to the organization. With that said, you also have the right to like people more than others when they've been around the organization for a long time. So I do try to give players a heads up if they had been there for a while to say, hey, within reason, this could happen. We have to do what's best for our organization. And when you go in the NFL from 90 to 53 on those final cuts, I always told our staff, there is something wrong with us that we're cutting. We are firing 37 people today. It should pain us somewhere inside, even though we have a professional responsibility. And it's that balance that's very hard. So I've been on the other end of those conversations, but I can see where the player's coming from.
I understand what you're saying, and the notion that they could have given him some heads up. I understand all of a sudden you're moving your family, all these changes that come along with it. But, you know, I'm thinking back to a conversation that I once saw Jerry Seinfeld having, and this is a long time ago when he was maybe the most famous person in America at the height of the popularity of his show. And he had a girlfriend at that time, and they were very much in the paparazzi following them around everywhere. And I saw someone ask him, does it bother you that you're not able to have any privacy? And he said, you know what? I accept the totality of what's going on. Just to say, I wanted to have a hit show. I wanted to be a big star. I wanted this to be a success. And I accept that this is what goes along with it. Andre Drummond's contract is well over $100 million. Now, I'm not suggesting that that makes your life perfect, but I am saying this is the downside of being in this business. Being a professional basketball player is one of the best jobs I could ever possibly.
It's one of the best jobs, but you always got to keep your head on the swivel because you don't know what the top of the organization is thinking about. It's a lot of players ain't getting no heads up, and they just ship them out. Look at DeRozan. They told this man they not trade him. The next day, he looked on TV, he's going to San Antonio. He thought he was going to be a Raptor for the rest of his career. They told him he ain't going nowhere. They shifted. You don't know when they going to want to shift you out. They can tell you But they thinking about another thing.
Possibly imagine. The downside is you might get traded. And that, I think, given that and going into it eyes wide open, knowing that's on the list of possibilities, there are a lot of people I feel more sorry for today.
When people's backs are against the wall, work-wise, there's no loyalty anymore, right? If you're a GM and your back's against the wall to a certain degree, I understand that you could have made a phone call, but still, you have to do what's in your best interest to keep your job. You want to win too, right? That's one thing. Number two, I think this is a bigger discussion, Greeny, because I think this shows that the NBA is no longer a big man's league. This is the era of small ball. It is. Zion Williamson is a point. Look at what happened with the Houston Rockets and Clint Capella, sending him over to the Hawks. I think nothing to do with the Hawks, but the league is moving toward.
I always said that when you can't shoot the outside shot, you is no longer going to be able to survive in this league as much. Andre might survive because he's a good rebounder and the team want him there. Cleveland want Andre Drummond there. They gonna resign him. They needed a center. They want him there. But at the same time, this is no big man league no more. If you're not built like Zion, can't do nothing like him, you up out of here. They don't survive. They don't care about your height no more. They don't even care about that. You have to be a point center, like Jay Will said. This league is not a center league no more. You even see the big man stepping out here in threes. Robert Lopez took 2 threes last night. He know he has to adapt to survive in this league. That's the point I'm getting at. He know he got to at least try to shoot some threes to orient surviving here because big mans ain't surviving unless you can shoot the basketball.
It's more versatile pieces and not a guy for Andre Drummond. Double-double. I mean, he's like a Will Chamberlain type of player to a degree. Not comparing him to Will. I'm just saying rebounding a traditional big man. That is no longer the case with where we're going.
Well, Andre Drummond knew for a couple of weeks that he was on the trading blocks because it's been publicized everywhere. We're trying to move Andre Drummond. And he has to understand it's not personal because this franchise, the Detroit Pistons, has no other way to get better. They have 2 large contracts with Blake Griffin and his was the only contract that they could move.
To a degree, Acho, I guess what I'm saying is you're a player. You're an asset. You are sort of an asset of an organization, and there are the way the rules are set up, this is very much a possibility.
Here's what I'll say.
Yeah.
I'll say this. Clearly, I'm biased because I was a player. I am a player. I'm always pro-player. But where I disagree with your point and where I don't think that anyone, unless you've truly played the game, can say, and I hate usually saying that because it's a lazy take. You don't know. You haven't played the game. But here's what I'll say. Players' money is not typically the primary motivation. How do we know that? Let's look no further than 5 days ago, the Super Bowl. Jimmy G took about a 95% pay cut to play in that game. To win the Super Bowl, you only get $104,000. I say only. Jimmy G's paychecks are well over $1 million. His game. Drummond, you're not playing for money. So to sit there and say, well, he's getting paid $100+ million, he should be okay with that. Because that's not his motivation for being on the court. His motivation for being on the court, to me,
that is pending upon who the player is. That's
right. Fair.
A lot of players do play for money.
Let Jeremy, you jump in here real quick. Go ahead.
Well, so there's a dynamic that shifted here. The news travels within seconds, and we talked about this. So if you're going to tell a player he's getting traded, you better be real organized and tell him well ahead of time. But then you're worried it's going to leak out and it's going to affect the deal because you got Woj and all these guys, and information on Twitter is so quick.
Yeah.
From my standpoint, it happens, within seconds. So that changes the dynamic for a guy and his feelings.
And that's why, within reason, you try to tell a player, hey, the trade deadline's coming up. We don't know what's going to happen. To DJ's point, you have very limited ways to improve your team, be it in the NFL or the NBA. Yeah. And sometimes you have to make hard decisions, but I think you owe it to the players, to Drummond's point of, hey, look you in the eye and say, hey, this may happen because we have to do
Mike T, does that ever actually happen, though? Because I know you said like you prefer it.
I've had those conversations, and they're hard. But that's what, when you want the privilege of those jobs and you want the money and the prestige, you have to look players in the eye.
It's the simple fact is, Detroit trying to go into another direction and try to get this team better. I don't know moving Andre Drummond is going to help, but they trying to. They're trying to figure out a way to become a good team. And I don't think they're going to move Blake Griffin. Because Blake Griffin can shoot the outside shot. It just, when the league have turned, everyone got to learn how to shoot the basketball. Some could get away with it. I'm talking about for as big man. You have to learn how to shoot the basketball. You ain't got no outside shot. I don't know about this league, man. Like, you got to collect everything now because the way the league is changing, if you can't shoot no threes, you're out.
Tell Jamal Adams, you know what? You're a great player, but if it's in the best interest of the New York Jets today, we're going to move you.
There's only a certain amount of NBA players that have stayed with one team their entire career. I mean, you're talking about Kobe, you're talking about Michael Jordan. But Michael Jordan even went to the Wizards right after retirement. Even D. Wade.
Yeah.
I mean, Mr. Wade, like Miami, right? Yeah. Goes to Chicago, comes back. So you have to not take these things so personal and understand the overall 360 degree of the business. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights.
Put a little bit of the rub, nigga, I gotta be safe.